Denise, we ready to go?
There's no public comment. You can go, yep,
Thank you.
yep, you can start.
Good morning, Todd County. Welcome to the Todd County Board of Commissioners, February 21st, 2023 board meeting. All commissioners are present, along with our auditor treasurer, county attorney, and county coordinator. Would you please join me with saying a pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning. Is there any amendments to the agenda?
I have none, Mr. Chair.
Okay, with that, is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Consent items.
Potential consent items today are as follows. Meeting minute approval, February 7th, 2023. Diamond Point, 1-year liquor license. Greystone Golf Course, 1-year liquor license. Long Prairie Country Club, 1-year liquor license. The Rock Tavern, LLC, 1-year liquor license. Rainbow Lodge Seasonal 3.2 Malt Liquor License. Rainbow Lodge 1-year setup license. Rainbow Lodge Seasonal Wine License. Rhodey's Midway Gas Bar and Grill Incorporated 1-year liquor license. Sacknet Campground 1-year liquor license. Shattuck's Hub Supper Club 1-year liquor license. Thunder Lodge Incorporated 1-year liquor license. Promote Deputy Brittany Hendricks to Sergeant, start date 2/21/2023. Hire part-time dispatcher Connie Spanswick, start date 2/21/2023. Hire full-time deputy Doug Rockow, start date to be determined. Resignation of eligibility worker Connie Helgson, 2/22/2023. Appoint financial supervisor, support services manager Steve McCoy, start date to be determined. And appoint waiver supervisor Hillary Trumberg, start date to be determined.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Noska. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carried. Thank you.
The first item I have today is to approve the commissioner warrants. Background is sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the commissioner warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling in the amount of $97,316.68, and it is a budgeted item.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Erickson. Discussion. If none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Denny?
Here.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Naska?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
The next item I have then is the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants. Again, the background is sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling in the amount of $99,692.54, and it is a budgeted item.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
Moved.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion. If none, roll call.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Naska?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
The last item I have then is the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants. Background is sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants with an ACH and a regular payment totaling in the amount of $94,620.33.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Nazca. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion? If none, roll call.
Commissioner Nasca,
Yes.
Commissioner Denny,
Yes.
Commissioner Becker,
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson,
Yes.
Commissioner Newman.
Yes. Thank you.
I don't see Lou here, but she did visit with me from the chamber. The MS Tram is going to visit Todd County, and I can read the background. The Bike MS Tram Ride Across Minnesota is planning their travel route and overnight visit in Long Prairie. In previous years, the MS Tram has utilized the Todd County Fairgrounds to facilitate their overnight visit. The Long Prairie Chamber of Commerce, on behalf of the MS Tram, is requesting the county board to waive the rental and utility fees for the lease of the Todd County Fairgrounds for July 27th and 28th, 2023 for this event. And I did bring the one back in 2017 where you guys did sign off and the county board agreed to waive the fees. The bike tram travels across Minnesota. They stop here, they just camp overnight is what they basically do. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm working with Lou on it. I'm one of her chamber board members, so
Oh.
if you have any questions, I could try to answer them.
Would you please?
Sorry, I didn't know you were here. My apologies.
I've got just one question. When's the fair? This doesn't coincide with the fair, or,
The fair's in July.
yeah, July
13th,
13th through the
yeah.
16th, so it should not be, no problem there.
Yeah, and this will be, maybe you can come up and speak on behalf of it.
Come on up.
Is the dates are just, is it just a one day, they're just staying overnight and then they'll be out the next day, is how I understood it?
Yep, it's just a one-night event. They show up in the morning, and we'll have the fairground set up for them to lock their bikes and to camp and have some entertainment. And then they'll hop on a bus and get driven around town to check out our restaurants and shops and stores. And then they're predicting about half the people will camp at the fairgrounds, the other half will stay at hotels in the surrounding areas. And then the next morning, they get on their bikes and move to the next town.
Cool. All right. So, you heard the request. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Becker. Any further discussion? So the recommendation would be, let them use the fairgrounds 27th and 28th. So,
And we're waiving the rent.
yep. Okay. All right, with that, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, now comes the fun part.
Once a year.
Okay, well, I got a little homework here I gotta do, so for the commissioners, I need a motion to suspend the current meeting to allow for a joint meeting with the Todd County Water and Soil.
So moved.
Motion by Nasca. Do we have a second?
Okay.
Second.
Second by Danny. Discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, thank you. Come on up.
You need to be near the mic. Tom, I'm sorry. I'll move my-
Guys get situated. Okay,
So they did close the meeting, so we'll reopen.
okay, welcome, guys,
Hi.
ladies. I'm gonna call this joint meeting between the Todd County Soil and Water Conservation Supervisors and the Todd County Board of Commissioners. And with that, I'll call our board to order, And I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Danny. Any discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Tom?
Okay, I'll call the meeting of the Todd County Soil and Water Board to open the meeting up. I mean, and do, so I make a motion, we do, or we need a motion to accept it, I guess.
So moved.
Dale? Lee, second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any more discussion? Motion carries. Okay, we gotta approve the agenda for the last meeting.
So,
This meeting.
yeah,
There was no changes, right?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay. First by Dale, or Lee? Dale?
Second.
Second. Second by Dale. All in favor?
Aye.
Any more discussions? Hearing none, motion carries.
Okay, and with that, I will ask the Todd County Board of Commissioners for approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion, please?
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Noska. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, guys.
Okay. First of all, I wanted to thank each of you for coming, and thank you for giving us this opportunity to meet with you today. Per the Joint Powers Agreement, this meeting serves as an annual connection point between the two boards and provides opportunity for interaction and discussion. And even though I'm the spokesperson today, I do encourage both boards to ask questions and add interjections as we're talking. I'd like to introduce for the new commissioners, if you haven't met all of our board yet, way down at the far end, well, you have Adam, you know Adam. Lee Buchholz is there. And then Dale Catterhagen and Tom Williamson. And people who aren't present, or the supervisors who aren't present today, is Barb James and Wayne Wendell. They were unable to make it. So today, the supervisors asked me to basically do a synopsis of what the board is all about and how we operate, just for the new commissioners that are on board and to refreshen everybody's mind. And we also will go through the annual report and our plan of action for next year. So, as you guys all know, the county operates within the guidance of the county comprehensive plan. We have a comprehensive plan until 2030. I'm sure we're gonna start working on it as a county coming up. And it covers everything from land use and transportation to facilities and recreation, including natural resources. And I thought it'd be an interesting point, or discussion point, is that a quarter of that document, I think it's 67 pages total, a quarter of it focuses on natural resources. And the main course is how we're gonna use the land and the property in the boundaries of Todd wisely for the future. So on the second bullet point up there, it says that from New England to the Midwest to the Pacific, business, recreation, food, production, development, health, all of that, the reason people are where they are is because of the natural resources. The businesses are there because that's the resource. So it's super, super important that we continue to protect. Without natural resources, there would be little revenue, little to protect, and no one to govern. So one thing that I also thought might be important for new commissioners is to realize that the SWCDs, there's 89 of them across the entire state. And of those, very, very few are actually absorbed within a county. There's different partnerships made within the county, but very few are absorbed. So we have a unique situation. In 2012, that's when we became absorbed with the county and worked under the division. We combined the expertise under one county division, the Soil and Water Conservation and Development Division. And this move directly aligned with the objectives of the 2030 Local Comprehensive Plan. So there was 2 guiding principles under land use, under the land use section. The number 1 guiding principle says, guide land use in ways that preserve significant natural resources and open spaces. Number 1 guiding principle. The number 2 guiding principle for land use was protect agriculture. And quoting from that comp plan, the natural resource plan is intended to serve as the initial reference for landowners, developers, citizens, the Planning Commission, and the county board when considering new or expansion of existing land uses. Providing this information in a fair and uniform manner will help reduce land use conflicts in the future. And the next bullet point. While planning and zoning mostly focuses on land use regulation and permitting, the role of the SWCD, this is statewide, is to manage and direct natural resource programs for the conservation, use, and development of soil, water, forestry, wildlife, and agricultural resources for the present and the future. And as you know, SWCDs provide technical expertise, funding sources, and educational services for its landowners and citizens and counties. So up here you kind of have a diagram of what the division looks like downstairs. So we have on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see that there's the SWCD. And on the left-hand side, right-hand side is the planning and zoning, and the left-hand side is the SWCD. And that is made up of, and as you click through, it'll kind of,
Sorry.
yep. So we have the farm conservation team, that's Tim Ebnett and Dylan. And then we have the riparian team. Obviously myself, up there is the district manager. And then the key role of the program coordinator, which is Sarah Catterhagen. She is 75% SWCD, and she serves the county and the planning and zoning 25% of her time. I wanted to really emphasize what these roles are doing for the county right now. So continue to click. So under farm conservation, they run the feedlot program. They do field erosion, windbreaks, cover crops, nutrient management, pasture management, conservation. They run the ag water quality program. They do education. Right now they're planning the feedlot meeting. Working land easements is new, and I want to point this out to you because, especially for Lou, he knows what it's like to be a technical position and to each year get more and more and more placed on top of you. So the working land easements is brand new this year on the farm conservation team, and we have a lot of landowner interest. You may ask us, why are we doing this? Because the landowners hear about it, and there's got to be somebody that leads it. The irrigation scheduler program and the irrigation RCPP grant is a huge multi-million-dollar grant for irrigators. Also, Lou used to be in charge of the tree barn, and now our farm conservation team is taking that on. So next is the riparian team, and you can see for the riparian, we have the WACA program, the buffer program, the DNR observation wells, shoreline program. New, we don't have a farm biologist right now, somebody had to do RIM. Gully erosion, livestock crossings, river monitoring on the Long Prairie River is new. That's really important with the One Watershed, One Plan. They also are planning an educational event with the, both Big and Little Birch, and riparian forestry is new. District management, you guys probably know this one. I'm an employee manager. I oversee all the SWCD programs and grants and cost share. I act as the water planner. I run the AIS program. I write grants with the help of staff. Annual and semi-annual reporting, so all the mistakes that you see in the annual report are mine. Fiscal management, and the board agendas, I develop those in the policy. And then Sarah, she does all the well sealing. She doesn't have to go in the field for that, so she does the well sealings. She coordinates the EnviroFest and some other educational things that we do with Sauk River. She sends out all the tree orders. She does the monthly financial reporting and annual audit prep, enters any data entry that's required, and she processes feedlot registrations. So she acts as general admin support to our staff. And then we have Adam. Oops. And new for both her and I is the fiscal management of the Long Prairie One Watershed One Plan, and we're also the fiscal managers for the LCCMR grant that covers the watershed as well. And under all of this goes under Adam. He manages the planning and zoning, but he works alongside the district manager, ensuring cohesiveness of the division, supports the district manager and SWCD as needed in any area, and provides county perspective to the decisions that we make. So with all that, I just wanted you to really know what each role plays in the busyness that entails. And so how does the SWCD get money to operate? So a lot of our monies are county allocations, so that means that the feedlot programs and the WACA programs that go to the counties, Todd County has distributed down to the SWCD, basically, can you run this program for us? Here's the money, okay? So that's a lot of the money does come from there, and required match dollars that go with those programs. Then we have the legislative and Bowser allocations. We get $130,000 so far fairly regularly from Bowser, the Board of Water and Soil Resources. And then the water plan funds. Now the watershed-based implement funding pools are also distributed among us. Then we work really hard. We have a pretty good reputation for obtaining competitive grants, but we do have to write those and apply. And then we do partners. We do have some monies that come in for the nutrient management position, and that's from West Central Technical Service Area. And then in the past, when we've had the farm biology position, the Pheasants Forever they're not the only ones, I'm just throwing up some examples. And then the other point is the SWCD employees are county employees. So our vehicles, our benefits, our office space and supplies are provided by the county. So the total planning budget that I have money or access to as we're planning for the next year for 2023 is $932,494. We do not make profits. That's not what our organization is about. And you can account for about half of that is to cover employees. So then we can flip to the next page to see basically how does this benefit the county for us to be here. And we talk a little bit about reimbursement. One of the great benefits is that P&Z no longer has to manage the extraneous programs that are out there and can focus on land use when it comes to like feedlot programs and other allocated programs. And the SWCD has done a really good job with managing, like melding these programs into their conservation. So the programs themselves have become important as connections to the people. So we go out there, the staff goes out there, they proactively work with the landowner and to prevent violation of regulatory action on part of the county, and dual accomplishments in conservation and education means dollars saved on both parts. So also inside of SWCD, all the grants that we obtain, there is built into it reimbursement dollars for the employee hours that are put on. each work plan objective. So we use what's called the 10% method for calculating billable rates for each of our employees. And so this is done through, we take the county hourly wage, their employee benefits, the leave, and then there's an additional 10% on top of that. And so that is what we bill the grant. So all of that plus the 10%. When the SWCD does receive the reimbursement through the grant, then we pay this to the county for employees. And this reimburses a large portion of county costs for SWCD employees and operational costs. So I don't know if this is unique to our department, or maybe there's other departments that also reimburse the county, but I find it quite advantageous, I would think. And then the SWCD, through all our projects, puts local contractors to work. We build ag infrastructure, and we add value-added improvements to shoreland and riparian homes and cabins and properties, and that also brings revenue to the local community. So those are kind of, in a very short, concise manner, as concise as I can be, that kind of tells you how the county does benefit. So now what's down the road to come? And as you can see here, we have a tornado of money coming down the road. Now that sounds like kind of a good problem to have. There's that healthy soil bill, which is saying by 2030, 50% of all farmers will have soil health practices on the ground, and by 2035, there will be 100% of all farmers will have access to equipment and funds to put soil health on the ground. The Farm Bill Inflation Reduction Act, by 2026, will have NRCS will have 8 times the amount of money it's ever had for us to work with on conservation. We have 2 employees at our NRCS office, so if you go downstairs, you can really see the people that get the work onto the ground. We do that work for them. The DNR budget, they're looking at a boost of $2.87 million over the next 2 years, and they are and planning this great cost share funding for forestry. And they don't have a lot of people, very many foresters, so they're looking at SWCD. We have a $3.7 million LCCMR Forestry Initiative pilot grant that's going on. That's the one that we're the physical agents for. We just learned last week for the Mississippi Brainerd watershed alone, that's over $1 million getting applied every 2 years. And then obviously you get the challenge of the governor that we have to have 1 million acres of forest by 2050. That's crazy. And great, but crazy. And 22 million in SWCD aid is going through the legislature right now, and that would double our current annual appropriation. So that's kind of cool. We can build our capacity that way, but we need to be thinking about how that's going to work. So the 2023 goals is we've been working with Pheasants Forever, NRCS, to bring back that farm biology position, to cover those areas you saw in pink that are under each of the positions, those extras. We're hoping that that can kind of relieve them of that extra. And then later this year, once we really get a better handle on what kind of funding's coming down, we probably will ask to meet with a personnel committee to discuss the capacity challenges coming up over the next 8 years for the SWCD. And the most important thing, why we're going to talk about it earlier than later, is we don't want to have Todd County left behind in the dust. So any questions so far before we move to our annual report? Any surprises? Anything the supervisors would like to add? Okay. So if you want to jump to our annual report, hopefully you either got it in the mail or through the newspaper or saw it on the web. There's 32 pages of it. We're not going through 32 pages of it. So we're going to move to, I would say, page 7, just to kind of explain the annual report. So every year, in November, the supervisor, staff, and partners meet, and we make a plan for the next year based off of the year before. What are the popular things that are moving, or the important initiatives at that time? So this is just quickly just to explain that. And from there, on the next page, you can see what was developed for the 2022 plan of action. And the goal for that was basically to strengthen our partnerships so that we could be more effective on the ground. The next page is 9. And probably the most beneficial partnership that we got through 2022, we've developed many new partnerships, but is with Wadena and Otter Tail County. Through Wadena and Otter Tail, we've shared some projects, we've shared funding and technical expertise. Nathan Weezy has come down and worked with us. Don Bayompa is a coordinator and helps with the One Watershed, One Plan and the forestry plant. So that has really been, they seem to have a really good handle on things, so very common sense. I like the Bowser reps up there. So that's been really super helpful. And then we anticipate more partnerships coming forward. The watershed funding, just wanted to bring to your attention, in the Long Prairie River, we ended up with 200,000 of the 714. There was 400,000 that was split between Douglas County and Todd County. And that was for projects done. We thought it would be a little bit bigger, but there's other priorities that they wanted to accomplish as well. So that funding may change, but we're also already working on developing projects for the next biennium. We have over $1 million in projects on our list for the Long Prairie right now. If you look at the Sauk River, we are working on, we just submitted $300,000 worth of projects in the Sauk River, a lot of focusing on Lake Osakis. And we completed all of our projects. They released the Sauk River funds in August. We had all our projects done by December except for one. So that's how ready and eager to go we are in Todd County. And then the Crow Wing, we're working in that area through the Partridge River grant, but that One Watershed, One Plan just is in development right now. The Mississippi River Brainerd, I already told you about the 1 million. That's every 2 years, $1 million appropriation that will be coming probably in 2024. And then the Red Eye River, that one, they have, through the second biennium, Todd County has $245,000 set out in feedlot fixes. We've got an engineers for $8,000, and we've already put in cover crops and pit closures. So we're really benefiting from those One Watershed, One plans. Any question on those right now? Okay, project, page 13 is just our highlighted project, just shows how, and Lou's very familiar with this project, shows how long sometimes it takes to get a good project on the ground, especially when you have lots of partners. This involved Public Works, Fairy Lakes Lions Club, the DNR, everybody was involved, it seems like, in this one. And this is just the phase 1 of that project. Phase 2 will really look and work with that landowner, the farmer, who was impacted by what happened was basically one of the outlets originally was closed off to the Fairy Lake, so the water couldn't go where it was supposed to go, so backlogged into another wetland that exploded into this guy's field, and like I said, he could have run a whitewater rafting event down through his fields every spring, and that goes right to Ashley Creek. So basically, we can flip through this really quickly. You can see some of the pictures. The partners, Governor Poston, Sauk River Watershed was there. U.S. Fish and Wildlife was all a part of it. You can see in yellow, that was the closed-off wetland, how tiny that had gotten and accumulated by cattails. And then you can see the run down through the farmer's field from that northern wetland that was overflowing. Just pictures of the project itself. And then in the bottom right-hand corner of that page, it kind of talks about the benefits that were addressed. So we addressed field erosion, crop loss, blocked natural flowage to a wetland, wetland and wildlife habitat, high water levels, undermining of bridges and roads, that's why the Public Works was there, and not enough septic separation because the lake was increasing in height. So a lot of things were addressed in that one project. Of course, there's more work to be done in that area. But I talk about that because the Long Prairie also has a Public Works brought to our attention another project that we'll be working on. It's a culvert that they continually have to clean out, and there's a lot of erosion coming off of a farm there. And so they talked to us about 3 years ago. They've been very patient. This will come to fruition this year, so just time. This page, the only thing I really wanted to point out to you is we have our local work group tour, and that is every June, and we hope that you come. It's just a small group of people that we invite, but it's really beneficial. And then we also have the Higgins Long. Hopefully that'll get some monies appropriated toward their lake level problems as well. Page 17 just talks about the different projects that we've done this year, and the numbers of projects. And below is the different sources of funding that we talked about already, and where they come from and how much. So you can see that we've got lots of pools of money from which we work from. And then the last one I wanted to bring to your attention was page 27, and that is the AIS. You probably don't hear a lot about AIS. It's still going. The AIS program is strong. But I do want to bring it to your attention that that funding or the expenses for the inspections are increasing wildly. They have to pay the inspectors very high to keep them on the job, the fuel prices, travel prices. So we have reduced the amount of inspections on the lakes this year. So you'll see them, the inspectors out a little later. They'll be doing fewer days, but we're working really hard to have other things in place to kind of help boaters and other people kind of clean their own boats, hopefully, is the goal. But I just, in case you heard that out there, I wanted you to know. So that's the summary of our annual plan. There is 32 pages. I hope you finger through it at some point. Any questions?
Deja, I have a question.
Yeah.
Does your organization spend any time or resources on the Swan River or the Little Swan River?
Yes, that's where that Mississippi Brainerd, that's where we'll be focusing on quite a bit in starting 2024. So we have a big watershed plan for that area, and it works with Morrison County as well in addressing issues in along the Swan River.
Thank you.
Any others? Okay. The 2023 plan of action, that was, I think I sent that, maybe?
I don't think so. I just have this and your
Oh, okay.
PowerPoint.
It might have been on Friday's attachment. Okay. So the 2023.
Yeah, there you go, that.
Yep, that's
Okay,
it.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. We met in November this year. This is our plan of action. I just didn't want it to be a foreign thing for any of you. And they, the supervisors are the ones that really put in the directives on these with the help of the staff. But I just want you to know this year we'll be focusing on healthy water, healthy soils, and healthy humans, really taking into consideration healthy of our employees, healthy of our constituents, and healthy everything. And one of the things that we have been, and I already said this, we're working on is to obtain a farm biology position, re-obtain that back to relieve some of the pressure on the staff. Don't know if there's any questions or things on this. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think you guys are gonna have to approve your annual report.
Yep. So the annual report, they pre-approved, but they haven't seen at the meeting the final plan because it got lost. So what ended up happening is I had typed it up for their meeting, and then I don't know what happened to it, it crashed. And so I had to redo the whole thing a second time. So they saw all the information, they just haven't seen it in the format. So I need you guys to just approve the final format. And we hashed through that quite a bit with my lovely pictures.
You want that done here today as we speak?
Yeah, it's on your agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve that final.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion made and a second, and then, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And we're on 4.2.
And then 4.2, approve re-signing of the Long Prairie MOA. RTL has asked to join the collaboration.
So this has already been something supervisors have signed. At that time, Otter Tail County was not a part of the collaboration, and since then, they've requested to be a part of the collaboration. So that's the only reason why we're asking for a re-sign.
So move.
Second.
First and second again, made motion and second. Any more discussion on it then?
Asia, to be clear, I've reviewed this already.
Yeah.
Thank you. I thought so. Thank you.
That's it then? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Approved.
And then 5.1 is the annual feedlot meeting and farmer appreciation meeting. That is scheduled for March 15th at the Clarissa Ballroom from 10 to 2. And the Coffee and Baked Goods Social is at 9:30. I know a couple commissioners like to go to that. We do encourage all of you to go, and we have asked that it be public notice so that you could attend. I won't be there this year, but the guys and gals will do a great job with it, I'm sure.
Okay.
We don't need a motion, that's all.
Nope, that's just information. And now you can adjourn.
Okay, I guess we're ready to adjourn. Can a motion to adjourn?
I just, maybe, any of the commissioners have anything else to say on, while we have our meeting open?
Mm-hmm. Do we need,
What, do you have
Well,
any?
yeah, he's
yeah,
asking if you have
any
any questions.
comments or anything?
no. I just think what I can say is with water and soil, you see the results. And you guys get the results done. If there's a project that needs to be done, you see it through start to finish. And that's a good thing, and the taxpayers see that. So I want to thank you and your staff for that. So,
Yeah, as supervisor for soil and water, I would, appreciate the interaction and the cooperation we have with the, being we're connected together in a little different fashion than most soil and waters and county boards. And appreciate that support, because as you know, if we don't get that, a lot of these things, soil and water is really the key driver in many of these projects, like especially like, look at Ferry Lake, the Long Prairie River the year before, there's 10, 12, 14 organizations. Somebody has to be the director for that. And it really helps that you support and help us be able to do that, because that's how we get these things, these conservation things done, and these land use and things done. And we're gonna be seeing more, like was mentioned in the report, there's gonna be a lot more money coming because of the soil or because of the One Watershed, One Plans.
yes.
And if we can be on the forefront of that, whether, however we need to do that as part of our projecting, we appreciate that help and the support.
And if I can say, by sitting on two of the watershed plans, I appreciate that because we can see it forming and what's happening from within side and see it building up as it goes along. So that's very nice to have that communication back and forth and to be able to sit on those one water plans.
And we thank you guys especially because you are leaders in, as far as supervisors, I mean, as far as commissioners go, we have typically more representation, more invested interest from our commissioners, and it leads other commissioners to be equally as involved. But you guys are the direct reason we're able to do what we're doing because of your involvement, so. You.
One comment I had, and it's unseen. We talked about health and health of the people, and we talked about that at our work plan, and we're hearing more and more of it going on is mental health today. I wanted our employees out in the field, if in fact you see somebody out there, and I don't know how to recognize it, but I would hope somebody, if they could recognize an issue, to bring it forth. You won't see it, but I hope it's attainable.
And I do, I mean, that is a part of our jobs, maybe, Lou might be able to attest to it, but we run into all sorts of things out there. And sometimes we have to just sit and listen because people are crying for help sometimes. I'm not saying that the county's, majority is in some sort of mental crisis. It's just that there are people out there. Maybe it's just the day, but they need to talk. And so sometimes we are that person and have been able to guide people to better places or better spirits at least, so.
I think with the relationship we have with the county, that the employees under Deja here are more willing to, excited about doing things because they know they got you guys behind their backs.
Yeah, the minute that would turn, that wouldn't be good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's nice to have the support.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. I guess we're all in favor then?
Pardon me, but you only have Lee that made the motion to adjourn. I need a second.
Seconded.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, meeting adjourned.
Okay.
Thank you much, guys.
Thank you. And with that, I am gonna ask the Todd County Board of Commissioners for a motion to adjourn the joint meeting with the Todd County Soil and Water Supervisors and staff.
So moved.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And with that, I would entertain a motion to resume the regular board meeting of the Todd County Commissioners.
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Noska. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Morning.
Hi. I don't know if anybody's joining us by Zoom today.
They didn't notify us, so we don't know that.
Oh, guess I'm flying solo then.
Carolyn.
Sorry, no notification of Zoom.
Okay, it's okay. So I think I know almost all of you, but Brenda Miller, Livestock Extension Specialist here in Todd County. Just a quick update, you guys should have gotten my sheet, for Rod and Randy. You guys pretty much seen everything already, but, good news is that commodity prices are really good. Though the futures markets are kind of trending down a little bit for corn and soybeans. So if you got beans or corn in the bins, you might want to sell those, but it's kind of the cycle of 12, 13, 14 where the commodity prices were up. and the beef prices were down, and now when they're coming down, the beef prices are going up. So cow price is hovering at about $1 a pound. Fats and feeders are high up there too. And then another thing, we have a lot of goat and some sheep producers. They're getting a lot of money right now for their feeder lambs and goat kids. So those are really good markets too. I have on here, I just came back from the NCBA National Convention a couple weeks ago, and that was a really big event, like 6,000 and some farmers and ranchers from all over the country and all over the world came to that. They had a huge trade show. There was like 8 acres of trade show, from anything with corn, soybeans, pharmaceuticals, John Deere, Case IH, lots of chutes, animal handling systems, and I learned a lot just from the trade show, but I've actually helped a couple guys already just in the last couple weeks. They wanted ear tag information, and we're working on some like activity monitors, whether it's a collar or an ear tag to better manage their herd. So the things that you learn and can put to use in a short time. And I'm really excited. I attended a lot of animal handling workshops there. They had some live demonstrations, and I teach the beef quality assurance program across the state, and I've learned quite a bit already that I will be putting into that program, and then my hands-on workshop that I do for the 4-H kids at the state fair. I'll be putting some more of those skills to use. But Stables Cow Calf Days, that was huge this year. We had the biggest turnout since I've ever been here. It was over 100 or 120 people. Usually we hover around that 80 to 100, so that was really exciting. And we had some kids from Ridgewater College come, and they got to disperse throughout the crowd and hang out with the farmers and chat with them. So I thought that was really good. But we do some really exciting things. We have breakfast on the farm this year, so if you want to pencil in a date of June 17th, the Rindy family from Long Prairie here is going to host us again. They just put in robotic milking systems here in November, and they're up and running and going well for that family. So we're excited to see some new things on their farm, and great opportunity for the public to hang out and see the everyday workings of a dairy farm. And not that it has to be on a dairy farm, but we've been at a dairy farm most of the time. There's just always a lot going on. So we're finishing up our private pesticide applicator trainings. I know Dale just came in this morning and got a test, so he's got to take his test to recertify. Anybody who wants to be a first-time certifier has to take the test either online or the paper one. And then once you get certified for the first time, that's good for 3 years, and then you can come to one of our in-person workshops, so you don't have to take tests if you're not a good test taker or you don't like to take tests. But that's kind of what's going on there. The other thing that I'm supposed to talk about is, well, I'm not supposed to talk about, I'm going to talk about, because I'm part of this grant thing, and it's a rural stress grant. And we've been doing some mental health awareness stuff. Last fall at the Farm Bureau banquet, we had Amanda Radke come in, and she was a speaker, and she kind of talks about mental health on the rural side. And so we have some I don't even know what you call these, but some items that we have, but this is just a little conversation starter. And if you have kids or grandkids, or, you know, just are in an awkward situation and you want to talk to somebody, these are really fun. And so each card has a little question. So this one says, who inspired you today? So like I could ask my 10-year-old, you know, who is somebody in your life that, you know, had a good impression on you? Or this one says, what made you feel proud? So, I mean, you can use it for adults or children, and I have a whole bunch. If anybody wants one, you're certainly more than welcome to have one. I brought these to Cow Calf Days, and I think I got rid of probably like 60 or 70 of them. So, yes, great resource. And we have a bunch of other things too. But along with that, we have a mental health first aid training coming up in Spanish. And why in Spanish? You say, well, I had this harebrained idea that we have a lot of Spanish speakers here in this area, and a lot of them, you know, I work in agriculture. We have a lot of Spanish speakers who work on farms, right? And that's, you know, mental health is just important for English speakers and Spanish speakers, and whatever language you speak, it doesn't matter. So we have access to people who can teach this in Spanish, and so they are going to come on March 7th and 8th from 5 to 9 p.m. And it's if you were to do it all in one day, it'd be like a 7-hour program, but we're going to break it up into 2 days because that's kind of long. And we realize that people have jobs that they need to attend. So we are going to have this, and if people attend both days, they're going to get a little $25 gift card. So supper is included. They just got to sign up, and we have only 30 people can attend this. So you'll be seeing these flyers hopefully around town. But if anybody has a place that they would like to put one, I would gladly accept your help in getting the word out for this. So hopefully yep.
How many people have signed up already?
I don't know.
Have you reached out to Hands of Hope or the Long Prairie Chamber or?
We just finished these final drafts up like late last week, so I'll be getting this out. Yep, I'm going to be talking to Lou, and hopefully we can get this in at Long Prairie Packing and some of those other places. But she'll put this on the website, hopefully.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So, like I said, if anybody would be willing to help spread the word on that, I would greatly appreciate it. And then Mary Jo Catras, she's kind of our head person for the grant, and she's been really beneficial in putting this all together. So, what else do you want to know?
So price of eggs is gonna come down?
Oh, so this is interesting. I was in Coburn's last week, and the eggs were $2.59 for a dozen and like $4.99 or $3.99 for an 18-pack, which is less than half the cost of what it was a week before that or 2 weeks before that.
Wow.
So, but my chickens are still laying good,
Oh, good.
and I have not yet ordered my new chicks for this year, but it's on my to-do list. So, yeah. Does anybody want one of these? Yeah? I have more if anybody else. Or if you want more at a later date, I can certainly get you more. Just stop by. Nobody else has any other questions, I'll turn it over to
Thanks, Kristen.
Lauren here.
Is there any other questions for Brenda?
How do I get one of those sheets for,
Oh, yeah. Does anybody else want one of these sheets?
I'll take a couple if you got some.
Yeah.
Extras.
I can always.
perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if it goes good, I mean, we can always,
Just two is fine.
bring them back in the future. So they're gonna come
Thank you.
to Long Prairie, and then they're gonna have another one in Worthington.
You're reading my mind, John.
So Brenda, thank you for everything you do for the farming community in Todd County.
You're welcome.
And thank you for the report.
All right. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lauren?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Our first item on the agenda this morning is just an informational topic. I would believe last October, November, we came up here and requested approval from the county board to submit a project to Region 5 to obtain a federal transportation block grant. Here, I was just bringing this back up just to tell you that we were successful in obtaining that grant. So we got a grant for $1.2 million of federal money to do a mill and overlay project with some pipe work on County Road 11 from the Stearns County line up to Trunk Highway 27. And that's currently scheduled for the summer of 2027.
Thanks.
So we're pretty happy about that, to bring in about $1.2 million to the Road and Bridge Fund to help fund that project. So just if there's any questions or comments regarding that, I'd be willing to answer those, so.
Any questions?
Lauren, 11 going north, that's getting done.
11 is gonna be done this year from 27 up to Clarissa. And bids are actually due next Tuesday at 10 o'clock. So
Okay.
24 hours from now. Or a week from now, excuse me.
From now, yeah.
My math ain't working good this morning. Second topic on the agenda is a request to set a road meeting our spring road meeting. With that, I provided a number of dates for the board. We'd love to have you out to have our spring road meeting.
Okay, commissioners, what's the wishes?
The 3rd, it's a Monday.
Hmm?
We talking April?
Yeah.
We're talking April, yeah.
If I may, Mr. Chair, for the
Looks good
new
for me.
commissioners, what our road meeting is basically is a work session held out at Public Works, about an hour, hour and a half, where we basically talk about successes, failures of the department in the last 6 months, plans moving forward for both our equipment, our facilities, our projects. We go through budgets, personnel topics. Everything's open, so more of an informational discussion type meeting.
3rd works for me.
Third
The
works for
3rd?
me.
I guess the earlier it is, less to run into field work.
Yep.
Type deal.
Okay, I mean, the 3rd may not work for me.
Oh,
But
would
I
another
would
date
think
work better?
The 13th or 17th works well, or 13th works well for me, I guess. But
It wouldn't work for me, cause
11th doesn't work well for me.
it's the second Thursday. Commissioner Denny, what are you thinking?
Yep, on the 13th there. I was going the 3rd, but are you looking at the 13th now, or?
The 3rd, if the 3rd doesn't, I can try and make that work. I can rearrange some things.
The third?
if we have to.
Let's shoot for the third. Okay, I would entertain a motion for that.
I'll make a motion that we hold our spring road meeting. Is that north or south shop, Lauren?
That's up to you.
Is it usually in the north shop?
We usually do the spring one in the north shop, but we can hold it wherever the board chooses.
Okay. I always suggested hold it up in the north shop again, because it's interesting for everybody to get in there.
Sure.
And time, what would be best time for you, Lou?
Yeah, if I'm rearranging my day, it doesn't matter anymore at that point.
Morning or
so-
afternoon?
No,
or-
it doesn't matter at that point. No, it's whatever you guys choose as a time.
Okay.
I'll make it work.
Oh, 9?
9. Do we have a second to that?
Second.
Second by Erickson. Any further discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
All right. And our last item on the agenda this morning is an interesting one for us. It's a request to authorize the purchase of a one-ton truck. And I'll start by summarizing the background. This was actually approved back in the fall of 2021. At that point in time, the board approved the purchasing of a new one-ton truck. And at that point in time, we were replacing Unit 79, which is a Ford F-350 flatbed that we actually got from the sheriff's office in 2013. I think it was on some type of repossession type thing with the sheriff's office. And I'm sure Sheriff Allen could speak more to that if needed. But basically, at that point in time when the board awarded that, I went and signed the purchase agreement with the vendor at the time. And when I sent it to them, they go, oh, by the way, we canceled that. You can no longer order it anymore. That was after a week. And this is all during the COVID time. So last year we worked with various vendors and tried to get them at least to allow us to get a quote to bring it back up to the board. And basically no vendor would quote it because the manufacturer weren't even accepting an opportunity to build a machine or a piece of equipment for us. Finally, this year we were allowed to actually put a quote in or get a quote from a vendor. And so we got the attached quote from North Country GM of Hibbing, Minnesota. And the issue with that is basically we get the quote approved now, and it gets into the April bid out date. We can actually get it possibly by the end of the year. If not, if it gets into June, we won't get delivery till 2024. It's just a really interesting time to try to purchase equipment for Public Works, and I'm sure that's with every other agency throughout the state. So with that, I guess our options to the board are approve the purchase of a 2023 Chevy Silverado 3500 from North Country GM for $52,760.66 per the attached state bid quote, or do not approve the purchase of a 1-ton truck at this time, and our recommendation is to approve the attached quote for the purchase of the 1-ton truck.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
So move.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Danny. Discussion.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Lauren, this 2001 Ford, is that a diesel or a gas truck?
It is a diesel.
It is a diesel.
And this one will be a gas. We figured that having a gas one will be sufficient enough for what we're doing. The motors are big enough that our mechanic felt was big enough to handle the workload that it is. If we add on the diesel option, I think is listed on one of the quotes here, it's an additional $8,700. So if we look just down there, go back up if you would.
Yeah.
So on this screen, obviously I'm not doing this right. Nope. Anyways, I'll just stand up. Right basically here, we
At
could select
87.
the diesel option.
Yeah.
And it goes with 6.6 liter turbo diesel, and it's an additional $8,700. In order to save some money, we think that the gas would be sufficient enough for what we need, so.
Okay. All right, we have a motion by Erickson, second by Danny to approve the purchase of a 2023 Chevrolet Silverado 3500 from North Country GM for $52,760.66. Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
County Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This involves the proposed 2023 agreements for prosecution services in the towns that don't have their own police force or a contract with a private city attorney for prosecution. Those are Bertram, Gray Eagle, West Union, Clarissa, Eagle Bend, Bertha, and Hewitt. All those contracts are out and have been returned. The recommendation is for the board to approve all these agreements with the aforementioned towns.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Danny. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Solid waste. Chris? Mike?
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners.
Morning.
We have two items on your agenda. The first is for a landfill final cover design proposal. So what this is if you go back to the landfill that you have, I'll call it the older cells. It's cells 6 through 18. They reached final grade in 2021, so there's no more room in them to put garbage. And in our permit with the MPCA, the way it reads is that once you fill it up, then you have to put a cover on it. It's like 2 feet of soil, and you seed that, and it basically stabilizes it forever. We'll have to do inspections on that and stuff, but to put that on, we need to have an engineer involved that will design and bid and write a documentation report. So that work, the proposal that we received from WSN is for $26,000. $22,000 of that is the design and bidding process. So the options are to award them that bid or to not award them. And our recommendation is to authorize the solid waste director to sign the agreement with WSN.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Noska. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. The second item is groundwater evaluation for PFAS at landfills. I spelled it out there. PFAS is per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. Would you like me to briefly go through PFAS?
Would you please? Yeah.
So, I'm looking around the room. These chairs probably were made with PFAS. It's like a coating that makes them stain resistant. Your McDonald's wrapper has PFAS in it. Firefighting foams have PFAS. There's over 1,000 different chemicals in that family. And they've been used for decades, but they've discovered probably 20 years ago that they happen to be carcinogenic. So while it's kind of everywhere in the landfill world, the MPCA is doing their own investigations, well into everything, including wastewater treatment plants. But in the landfill world, they're looking at doing investigations, and what they've done historically on things like this, the landfill private and public operators have been not satisfied with how they write reports. They kind of write it like we're doing bad things. Well, when people put PFAS into everything and then we receive it, we'd rather not get that, but we don't have control over the manufacturers. So as we've been listening to the MPCA, there's a group that's called the Landfill Coalition or Landfill Operator Group that meets basically at least once a month. I should know the number, but it's basically all of the demolition landfill operators and even municipal landfill operators that meet to talk about landfill issues. And this group has been working for several months on how to help the MPCA or work with them to go through this exploratory process of like what's PFAS doing with landfills? Is it getting into the groundwater from landfills? And if it is, what are they supposed to do? So what we are been working on is I'll call it a counter plan. Instead of having the MPCA do a bunch of stuff and then write a report and tell the public what they think of us, we're proposing that we hire a consultant to do the study and that we pay the consultant to do that work. So as a group, the consultant that we've identified and been meeting and talking with is Bar Engineering. Bar Engineering happens to be the company that we hired last year to start doing our hydrogeologic work. So there's I think we think alike with that group in that we're hiring one of the best experts at this type of field in the state. The attached proposal says that the cost is about $4,000 to $6,000 per landfill. So it really isn't a ton of money, but I think it's really important. I'd like to get your support on this. I don't know why I put down in the financial implications 12 because this is a new enough and weird enough thing. I'd rather be a pessimist. Something's gonna come up that the cost is gonna go up on. So I'm just speculating because this is just a new subject. But I think the solid waste department's best choice is to work with this landfill coalition to pursue hiring Bar Engineering. We would have to individually, as a party, hire them. That cost is just for doing the evaluation. The actual sampling would just be done along with all of our other sampling. Widseth Smith and Nolting does the actual sampling, and they send those samples to a lab. So it's really what we're paying them to do is write a report with the data. So before I go any further, do you guys have questions on this? We have.
Okay, Mr. Chair. So if I'm listening to you correctly, Bar is going to be just doing the report writing, and the other company, Smith, wherever it was, they're doing the actual sampling, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And the difference of the money from 4 to 6,000 to 12,000 would be in the report writing or
You know, there's
sampling
things that
or?
we do routinely, like oil changes. Oil change is a commodity. You pay 40 or 50 bucks to have them do your oil change. I suppose now it's probably 70 or 80, but it's kind of a commodity. When you come in and you say to someone, I want you to build a custom cabinet, and you call them on the phone and say it's, you know, in my bathroom right next to my toilet and my tub, they don't give you a dialed in exact number. And even if they do, when they open up the wall, they're like, well, I guess there was a wire there, so I'm gonna have to charge you a little more. This is kind of like the custom built cabinet in your bathroom. That I truly believe that if the original cost is $4,000 to $6,000, I don't want you to be frustrated with the department if, as we go into this, they find a wire in the wall and they're like, listen, it's gonna cost a couple $1,000s more.
The amount of the reporting or the number of reports or the number of stuff that you may have to do could be different than what you're expecting.
Yes, Commissioner. A good example of that is we're submitting this to the MPCA, the state agency that we're not satisfied with how they're doing it. And so they may not be satisfied with how we're doing it, and there's gonna be some back and forth.
Sure.
All right. Any other discussion on this? I do have one. It says not budgeted. Where would the funding be coming from?
We do have an enterprise fund with, because each year our balance carries forward. And, I mean, we don't like to spend money that wasn't listed, but I think the point of the enterprise fund is that we have money in that balance account. I didn't bring the balance, but I have looked at it for like the last 4 years, and like the smallest amount we've had is 1.8 million in the account. So it's not gonna.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Danny. Discussion.
Does that have to be added to the recommendations where the funding is coming from then?
I think we should.
Mr. Chair, if I could just point out under the funding sources, it is 51 solid waste listed under there. I
Okay.
think, Chris, if I
Yes.
could just add, I think the reason why you're saying not budgeted is maybe because the MPCA has imposed this. So we're saying, here's another opportunity where the state has said we need to do this, and we don't have the funds specifically budgeted for this item. So maybe it's just recognizing another mandated process.
Thank you, Coordinator Pelzer, that's correct. When we budgeted, in August or July of last year, this wasn't there,
Okay, we have a motion and a second, to, authorize solid waste department to retain bar engineering for the PFA's evaluation as part of the assortment of landfills and proceed with the other necessary actions, perform sampling and analysis for the amount of 12,000, correct? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried, thank you.
Thank you.
Health and Human Services. Good morning.
Just one item today. We have an out-of-state travel request. The 2023 National Preparedness Summit is occurring April 24th to the 27th in Atlanta. All public health emergency preparedness coordinators are encouraged to attend. David Detterman, as our FEP coordinator, is requesting approval to attend this summit. The options are to approve the out-of-state travel request or to not approve. And we
Okay.
do have funding available under our current COVID response grant to cover the costs.
Okay, so it says budgeted no, but you do have funding.
Same thing, it wasn't planned in that budget, but it will be included.
Okay, all All right. You've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
I'll make the motion, and I would like to add to approve the out-of-state travel for David to attend the National Preparedness Summit with the financial implications of $2,250 coming out of what fund?
The COVID response grant.
Okay.
I'll make that as a motion.
So we have a motion. Is there a second, please?
I'll second it.
Second by Noska. Any further discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank
you.
you. Administration.
Good morning, Board Chair Newman, Commissioners.
Morning.
Today, we bring forward an extension of a probation period for employee number 998. The supervisor of employee 998 is requesting a one-time 6-month extension of the employee's probation period to give the employee sufficient time to prove their ability to work effectively for the county. Your options being approve this extension of probation or not approve the extension of probation, with the recommendation to approve the one-time 6-month extension of probation for employee 998.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. All right, standing reports. Auditor Treasurer.
I've just come back from my week, at my AMC conference, or not AMC, MACO, and, was very good. Talked about a lot of the, which I found interesting, a lot of the legislative stuff going on right now. They have passed through double the amount of bills in this short time than they have in 2 years down there. So it is rampant. It's just running rampant down there. So stay tuned for everything that's being presented, whether it gets passed or not. It's just, it blew my mind that they have 2 years amount of bills in just this short 3 weeks that they've been in session. A lot of things to come in government world, which is interesting, and you'll learn that in your guys' conference this week. But other than that, we have the Melrose School District special election coming up, and moving forward as usual.
Cool. County Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. All well in my office. We are making contingency plans for this week to deal with working remotely as needed. It sounds like Wednesday and especially Thursday are going to be dicey, but we have the ability to appear from wherever we are safely for court. I'm not sure if court will be in person as scheduled or all remote or canceled altogether, but in any case, we'll be prepared. Other than that, things are going great. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Commissioners report. Commissioner Denny.
Yeah. Met with the Ag Society. Actually, Commissioner Noska and I did, to do an inventory for their insurance out at the fairgrounds. We went through the buildings that they had some inventory in. We had Mitch with us as well. Wrote down everything we had. Locked up, returned the keys. Then I was at the Hilltop Kitchen, getting associated with them more. Very proactive group. Put out 5,300 meals last month. They're really excited about the potential of the new apartments on that school there. That was a really good meeting with them. Then I also went to a drainage convention in Alexandria. It was their first one that they've ever held there. They've been asked to do one for years. Had about 180 people in attendance. It was very informative, to sum it up. It was just a lot of information. So it was good. It was good. They touched on everything from the history to how the states kind of flip-flop their ways over the past years on how they feel about drainage and the water in the area. Other than that, nothing.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Becker?
Yes, had some interviews for HR coming in. Also had corrections on Wednesday evening, and it sounds like we're finally making progress with our Eagle Bend building and trying to get that taken care of with MCIT, so that's what I had. And then also we had Rainbow Rider, so.
Okay. Commissioner Erickson?
Had an extension meeting over at the library here in town. It was a very nice educational evening there, very good presentation done. Had a opioid advisory council meeting, and again, another really good thing, just kind of getting rolling, trying to strategize on where the money and stuff is gonna be spent, how it's gonna be spent. Had Park and Trails meeting, and good discussion there on some improvements and stuff out on the park out there. We're making good progress on getting some pricing together for a possible new landing and stuff like that, boat landing, so that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Noska?
Other than Ag Society and Community Corrections, I was with Barb. We had the 13th, we met the Todd County Development Corporation, and just some details. Annual dinner is going to be at 6:30 on April 10th, so should be a nice event. Also met with John on the Law Library again, coming up fourth Monday of each month. We've got Central Minnesota Legal Services to assist self-represented individuals, so something good for the county. Help them out and help John out, I'm sure, too.
Right, myself, I will give my February report on the 7th of March, but I will follow up that we've been doing interviews for the HR position. They're moving forward, and hopefully we had some good candidates, and we'll go from there. So with that, coordinators.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Same thing, just working through the HR manager interview process. We're getting close to hopefully closing that process down with just a few more items that need to be taken care of, and then we will be making a decision. As far as the AMC Legislative Conference that was taking place today, tomorrow, and Thursday in St. Paul, that has now moved to completely virtual, so we won't be taking that trip down there, but we will be participating remotely, and hopefully we hear some of the good work that's being done at the legislative session. So that's what I have.
All right. Is there anything else that needs to come in front of this board? If not, all I'm going to say is everybody be safe out there in the next couple days. The weather's going to get a little interesting, so be safe with you and your family. And with that, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn for the month of February. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Noska, second by Erickson. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We're adjourned. Thank you. So, with that, we have County Assessor. Chris, good morning.
Good morning. I was asked to come here to give a little preliminary presentation on how the 2023 assessment is going to compare to the 2022 assessment. I struggled on how to do this early and without a ton of spreadsheets and numbers and data, and well, I kind of threw that out the window because all you're getting today is spreadsheets and data. But just to back up a little bit first, so what we do in the assessor's office is we're going to analyze sales each year and compare them to what we feel that the value was at the beginning of that year. So as an example, if a parcel we have valued at on January 2nd of 2022 sells in July of 22, we're going to look at those two differences in the sale price compared to the assessed value. And then we're going to create a market off of numerous sales. So what I've got on the sheet right now in front of you on the screen is Birchdale Township. Each row represents a sale of property in Birchdale Township. You can see that we got it split up into two different classes of residential property. These four green ones don't have lake frontage. The blue ones do. If we look at the total preliminary market, our value was 80% of what they sold for. So meaning right off the bat, we know that we're 20% too low in Birchdale Township. But instead of just raising the entire Birchdale up by 20% so we're good, we're going to break it down a little further. So we're going to look at those off-water properties. Now these ones were at 85%, so they were a little closer to true than just the lake ones. And then if we look at the lake ones, we're going to break that down even a step further and ask which lake was it on and were they all about the same. So here we can see that Big Birch was selling for 23% over market, while Little Birch was selling at 20% over market. Now, the numbers right now aren't the important part. What I'm trying to present is we're trying to analyze as small of a market as we possibly can and still have something worth looking at. You know, you're not going to see on here that we're going to look at all just 1950 houses or just blue houses. We're looking at it by area, by property type. Is it a farm? Is it a lake house? Is it an apartment? So we're breaking it down into different categories to determine which each category is done in the market. So when we get all done with the year, this number in yellow must be at least 90 and it cannot be over 105. So right now with the changes that we've made, we're at about 92%. And if we scroll through this sheet, you're going to see, well, except for like this is Bartlett Township. There was only one sale there. We got to take a little closer look at some individual sales at times, but we're generally staying pretty close to that 90%. Another example here is Burnhamville Township. A lot more sales in Burnhamville Township. And if you look at the difference between on-water sales, about where my cursor is here, compared to off-water compared to on-water, you'll see that there's not that much difference overall here. 3% spread in the two. So that tells me that either the lake values have grown at pretty close to the same proportion as the not lake sales there. But for you commissioners, last year you'd remember that Burnhamville Township was one of our heavier hit areas in last year's changes, specifically Big Swan Lake. Now, if we look at Big Swan Lake, last year we raised that value of that lake about $400 per front foot of lakeshore. Starting this year, it's still one of our lowest ratioed areas. So we were at about a 90% ratio last year. Starting this year, we're back down to 70. So that lake still has an increasing market. But enough about this sheet. So after we analyze those different markets, we're going to look at like this first 10 rows here is Todd County as a whole over the last 5 years. So I'm gonna just highlight residential property. We'll just make that yellow for right now. So this year in 2022, we had 300 residential properties sell. Before any changes, we can see that we're 25% below the market. Last year we had 309, and after our 20% changes from last year, we ended at 92.5. And I could go on reading these, but I can share them again later. When you look at our total sales volume, 300, 309, 260, 246, we're very, very consistent. This bottom one is combined agricultural. Let's just, for the moment, so you can scroll through, we'll just paint it green. 69 sales this year, 25% below market. Last year there was closer to 100. But again, our sales are very, very consistent from year in to year out. So we're using large samples when we're making these changes. It's not just one sale makes a market.
Chris?
Yeah, go ahead.
If I could interrupt you. When you look at that overall line that says Todd County, the one you
On
just
this
had
one?
up there. Yeah.
Yep.
But now, when we do, or you do your taxes per se, you go township by township, correct?
We do. So that, sorry to interrupt you, but so those first 10 lines is the whole county.
Right.
And we can go down this sheet and say, okay, what happened in Bartlett Township? So Bartlett Township had 3 egg sales.
Okay, Chris, if I could finish my question. Can we not go by the total sales to send to the state? Do we have to do township by township? Because by doing the whole plot, because you're at 94%, right?
On what line item, Commissioner Becker?
Am I reading you right? Line number 10, under Todd County, the one that we're looking at? You said this year we're at 74%.
Right.
And 21, we were at 94. Gotcha.
Yep. So if we
Yeah.
take that line it's our property type code 95. That's
Right.
code for us, but it's 95. And if you look, like Bartlett has a 95.
Yeah.
I've already made changes in Bartlett and we've moved it up to 92. I've made well, here, if I may, I'll show you one more sheet that illustrates some of the changes. If we start with just land changes, takes a moment to load. Here is the percentage of change for each township if you look at just the land value. Houses and outbuildings excluded. Some places like Bartlett, 25%. Bruce Township is only at 14% increase right now. They didn't have as much change in market as some others. Hartford should be a glaring right now, 44%, that's huge. But Little Elk and Leslie, 7 and 8. So again, it comes back to trying to pinpoint as narrowly as we can and still have worthwhile data inside that pinpoint. And if we look at land instead of as a township change, how does it look as a type? So here we can see tillable, approximately a 26% increase. Pasture meadow, approximately a 17% increase. Woods, 17. Waste, 37. Now, should just be a spark, right? It's glaring. Well, tillable is approximately $3,000 to $4,000 per acre. So if we go up $300, it's 10%. Waste is closer to $700 an acre. So if I go up $300 an acre, it's 37%. So if we take it instead of as a percent, if we look at it as a dollar, it's not as pronounced. This is actually the bigger change here. But as a percentage, it looks terrible, but it's probably on average about $400 to $500.
The only thing is, as commissioners, when we have farmers come in and ask you, look, this is nothing. If I could cut that outside of my farm, it's no use to me at all.
Sure.
And yet it's going to be raised by 37%.
Yep.
And that's the questions we're getting.
So this is the first sheet that I pulled up today. Instead of looking at the residential, the cabins, the lakes, let's look at, this is bare land. So we're looking at, I want to get a township with a couple different ones here. So here, this is Moran. 61 through 63 is Moran Township. We had 3 sales of bare land in Moran Township. When we started, 2 of them were just under 60%. One of them was at 78. Now, sorry, it's hard to work with such a little screen, but I'm just scrolling a little bit over, and this is the land breakdown for each one of those individual 3 sales. So the first one was a 40-acre field, approximately half tillable. The second one was 38 acres, and it's almost all tillable. So if we look at just one sale, this is going to give me a very good idea of what tillable is worth. Now, I'm going to not just look at one sale. I'm going to go to other places and look as well. But if I can make this tillable correct, then I have an idea of what that's worth. Now, the sale that on the bottom here is 80 acres, none of it tillable, virtually all of it's woods. Well, that gives me a really good idea what should be higher, right? Should woods be higher or tillable? I have 2, and these are across the road from each other. But again, for this example, I'm using 2 sales. In real life, we're using 70 this year. The same can be said for these 3 Stowe Prairie sales. These 2 are exactly the same size, within an acre. This one is half tillable. This one has no tillable. So as we're changing values, it's not just to meet one of our criteria. Some areas might go up, some areas might stay the same, some areas might go down. But if I can show that people are buying tillable land for $4,000 an acre, right here, right? 38 acre field, 32 acres is tillable, $4,500. The one that had the least dollars per acre was the wooded acres in this case. So it's huge. It's a lot of data to take in. We're really trying to be accurate with our data and make sure that not one land type or one township is getting assessed in a way that we can't show why.
But that's hard, Chris, because
It's extremely hard.
There's people coming out of the metro area with money, lots of money, and they're jacking these prices up, okay? So I have an elderly couple sitting out there in their little home, okay, and they're getting their ass taxed to death because of these people moving up here from the cities and jacking our prices up, where even if the neighbor wants to get in, even the young kids trying to get into farming right now, they can't get into farming because all of a sudden that farm is no longer 500,000. Somebody will come in and bid it up to $1 million.
Yeah.
We're taking people,
but
the regular people, middle class people, out of this, because the elderly can't afford any more taxes. And it's not your fault, it's not our fault, but you look at what the legislatures are doing, you know, you shouldn't get penalized if you don't want to sell. You know what I'm saying? You should not get penalized if you don't want to sell. But we are, okay? So out in my neighborhood, if somebody comes in and they're paying, you know, $8,000-9,000 an acre, that affects all of us. And it affects Barb's district, Tim's district, Rod's district, Lou's district. I mean, somewhere along the line, it's got to stop, and the state has to look at it. Because if you're saying, you can come in and say, well, geez, we're assessing this property at $200,000 and it sells for $6,000, well, you're off $400,000. You know what I'm saying? Then you got to come back in and readjust it, saying, Jesus, you know, we really evaluated that too low. Did you or didn't you?
And you make a good point, Commissioner Newman, and that's where I was trying to was trying to show that it's one sale's not making a market, but it's hard to explain the entire process without showing a two sale example, like my tillable versus woods example. In reality, we're looking to see if this woods trend is a one and done situation. Did one guy buy 70 acres of woods for $3,500, or did 20 people do that? And this year, 20 people did that. I'm making up the 20, but it's a consistent thing we've seen across all land types, all townships, all housing markets, all lakes. It's consistent all the way across. And we'll come back to this if you guys want to. I want to show you one other thing, which the three commissioners have seen in the past. You've seen the summary sheets that I gave you in April. I've narrowed that down just for this discussion today. I have two columns, last year and this year. Total market last year, 20, this year, approximately 21. And the percent of changes you see going through. I'm gonna scroll kind of fast here, but ag, last year was 18, this year's 19. Residential, 22, 18. Our numbers show that increase in slope that we were seeing last year just continued on the same path. Last year we were sitting here at this time and we were saying this market can't continue. Well, here we are 1 year later saying the market continued. It did not stop. One area that we did see it change was apartments. I can hypothesize on why this value increase happened. It would only be a hypothesis, but I would assume something with increasing interest rates. Increased price to get into a house has created a inability or a shortage for some individuals who have now moved to an apartment market. Possibly elderly people moving from their own standalone single-family home into apartments because we have an increasing aging population. So the increased value in apartments tells me that there's an increased need for apartments, which we've seen here as well.
That's a cost thing here where there's just nothing available, so the price can just be.
The price can go up.
Really high for the rent, thus
Yep,
meaning
and-
the price of the property can be extremely high.
And even if the
Profit renting.
yes, and even if the rent doesn't go up, your vacancy rates have decreased, so your profit margin has increased.
Right.
So it's twofold.
It is twofold. And back to Randy's point, you know, people moving up here and stuff, I think we want to be careful there too, because, I mean, sure, you have people that are disappointed that, you know, their prices are going up, but you also have a whole bunch of people that are really happy that those people are moving up here, because the people wanting to sell are a definite benefit from the whole thing also. So there's certainly two sides to that coin. If you're ready to sell and you're one of the lucky ones that are ready to go, true, you can't be unhappy with what the market's doing.
Chris, if we make that pie bigger, and you and I have had this conversation before, would it help the whole county, or would it not? Because right now, you're doing pies of townships. So if we do this big pie and that chart that we were looking at before, it brings that percentage actually down or more constant?
Yes, to use this example back in, say, Burnhamville Township, if we look at all of these lakes as one, I should increase the market by 18%. Everybody's going to get a little. How about the people on Moose? They were at 82 before we started, but Big Swan was down. So it's going to help Big Swan, but Moose is going to have to take a little extra value because I'm not giving it to somebody else. In a township for township scenario, Burnhamville and Bruce are very close. Burnhamville is selling tillable land right now for over $5,000 an acre. So if I say I don't want to do that to Burnhamville, Bruce, you're going to have to up the ante a little bit. So instead of the $4,000 actual sales we're seeing here, I'm going to just spread the wealth and everybody's going to be 4,500. It's hard for me to look at Bruce residents and say, your value's so high because I couldn't do it to them. It's not fair to Bruce to say I'm going to overvalue your land so I can undervalue Burnhamville land. Those are examples, 2 townships that came into my head.
Okay, but by doing that, by having a bigger pie, wouldn't we eliminate this spiking up, spiking down? Would it not be more of a rounding, flowing curve? If you did district by district, instead of the whole county, because so many of our districts are so like land value and so forth, same type land, whatever, but it's this, I hear it from a lot of people when they do that spiking, okay, we're up here, then we drop, and then we go,
So-
or if we could have more of that rolling.
Is the spike a tax thing that they're seeing? Because I'm not seeing a spike in value. We haven't decreased value in 8 years.
It
mean,
always comes, land, if you look at the price of land through, through the years, it'll spike and then it'll drop and it'll come up, So eventually, if it carries the past history, it will be dropping.
I assume in time it will drop, or if you look at past history and how often it should drop, we're past our due date. We're a couple years past our due date. But this is real on paper data. Our jurisdictions are set as townships. The state looks at Todd County as a township and or city basis, so we do the same.
Okay, it comes from the state, then it's set per township, per city?
We look at it that's one level. Obviously, Todd County is a different level. We also look at our ag market with Wadena County too and say, is this all trending in the same direction? Counties share border values with their neighboring counties to say, we're at 4,000 on this side of the line. What are you guys at? So we know that we don't have this huge drop or increase in value just because you crossed an imaginary line on a map. So we really try to buffer as much as possible, but there's scenarios where you have a very clear cut what's going on. This year, it's Highway 71. The townships on 71 have the biggest increases. It's not my job to say why that is. We can all have guesses why that is. But Hartford, Stowe Prairie, Long Prairie, Eagle Valley, those are 4 of your biggest increased townships this year, and they all are on 71.
That's interesting.
I will provide the packet that you guys have grown accustomed to getting for the last 4 or 5 years. Look for that in maybe 3 weeks. We will be sending valuation notices out at approximately that same time frame as 3 weeks from now. Our first meetings are mid-April, April 10th, 11th, 12th, something like that. And they will be done by the end of April.
Okay. Is there any way you could throw a couple graphs in there, one of the mill rate, 10 years on the mill rate?
Can Denise do that? I mean, that's tax rate.
We usually,
Along with the county levy?
we usually provide that to you. My office does.
Okay. So I'd like to get a comparison of 10 years of the county levy, the mill rate for the last 10 years, and then
That'll
we
come
can.
later. because
That's
my-
TNT, right?
That'll be for my tax part.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Chris?
No.
So just get ready, you two
Just
new
get ready.
commissioners, when the evaluations come out.
Yeah.
We're happy to, there's only so many of us, but we're happy to answer the questions. I know last year that you guys received complaints that they weren't answered in a timely fashion. There's 24,000 people that are gonna be getting the same sheet within 3 days of each other.
Thank you.
But,
Thank you.
yep, you're welcome.
Chris. Find my sheet.
One more.
Yep. And I brought up, I'm trying to find the right paper here. Anyway, I brought up at the meeting about, the HR person talking or reporting to the board. And as you read through this job description, there's nowhere where it's put on there at all. And I did get a chance to talk to Sarah this morning before the board. Just a conversation, you know, how can we act, you know, because there's certain times that, situations, whatever, that the human resources should have the freedom to report to the board also. And I don't know, like Sarah and I talked, if it's not just more of an open door to her office or to the human resource office, if that would take care of it. I realize, you know, because I want to make sure that they know that the commissioners are open to their concerns or requests. And I was just concerned that nowhere does it say that they can report to the board. Not that they necessarily have to, but that they're open to if they so desire to.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Becker, if I could just address that just a little bit. If we look at job descriptions of all of our managers, our department heads, if you look at my job description as a coordinator, even though it's not specifically listed that we have an open door, we all, as managers, leaders, department heads, coordinator, that's our responsibility. And at any time, if you would like to have a discussion with managers or leaders, such as HR or any other manager, supervisor, department head, that door is open. I would hope that you would understand that door is open at any time.
Yeah, and that's what my concern was, you know, is to make sure that everybody realizes that door is open, you know, and swings both ways, I guess. Yep.
Mr. Chair, could I ask a point of clarification? Commissioner Becker, is it your belief that commissioners can only talk to department heads or the HR manager going through the county coordinator?
Well, at some point, when I first read this, it looked like the HR manager would have to go through the coordinator in order to get hold of us. And that's what my concern was, is that the HR person could get hold of us without going through a coordinator. And that's no different than department heads. You know, I just want to make sure that door is open.
Yes, and Commissioner Becker, it absolutely is. That door is always open, and I think even the communications with department heads, when they have a specific topic that they want to share with you, I mean, they'll reach out to you specifically and share that. And I think department heads and managers know that they can report to the board and should report to the board on topics. Many times they'll CC me on those conversations just so I have a heads up to it as well, but the message is really for you. I mean, that's what they're doing, is making sure they're communicating with you.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure that that communication is, you know, put out there, that we are open for any concerns that people would have.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner
Yeah.
Becker, I'm really glad that you brought this up, because part of my statutory duties, as you know, because we talked about this, is to serve as counsel for the board and officers for the county. And I want to make it clear that any department head, any officer, any commissioner can talk to me directly. They don't need permission, and I want that to be clear, and I think that should be clear with everyone of our officers, that we should be able to communicate with each other. I mean, there's open meeting considerations that we have to be aware of for commissioners specifically, but I think it's great that we're putting this out there, that we have this open door policy for all of us.
And I would like to thank Commissioner Becker and all the commissioners and department heads. I would like to think over the course of the last 5 years, we have done a better job of communicating than we ever have. So kudos to all the department heads and the managers and the board for being as open as you are and curious as you are and asking questions all the time. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Anything else?
Nope, that's.
If not, we'll end this work session.